everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be exploring Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. This is a book that really kind of came out of some unimaginable suffering.
Yeah.
And we're here to help you understand some of the core ideas, but more importantly, to see how they might apply to your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever felt like you're just kind of adrift, like you're going through the motions, but lacking a real sense of purpose? Well, Frankl, a psychiatrist who endured years in Nazi concentration camps, believed that the will to meaning is as essential as the will to pleasure or power. He saw this yearning for meaning as something deeply human, not just a philosophical concept.
That's really powerful. What's remarkable is that even in those horrific circumstances, Frankl observed how some prisoners found ways to hold on to meaning. They used humor, shared stories. They even risked their own well-being to help others. It was a testament to the human spirit's ability to find purpose, even in the face of unimaginable suffering.
It's incredible. So it's not about pretending that suffering doesn't exist, but recognizing the power of our attitude in shaping our experience, even in the darkest of times.
Right.
Didn't he develop a specific therapeutic approach around this?
He did. It's called logotherapy, and it focuses on helping people discover their unique meaning. It's not about giving them a set of instructions or telling them what to believe. It's more about helping them connect with what already matters to them deep down.
So it's more about facilitating self-discovery than dictating answers.
Yeah.
And I imagine this is especially relevant in today's world, where it's so easy to feel lost or overwhelmed by the constant barrage of information and choices.
Absolutely. Frankl called this feeling the existential vacuum, a sense of emptiness that comes from lacking a clear sense of purpose. And he believed that this wasn't something we should just accept as an inevitable part of modern life. He felt we had an inherent drive toward meaning, just waiting to be tapped into.
I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that. It's like you're going through the motions, achieving goals, maybe even experiencing fleeting moments of happiness, but still feeling this underlying sense of, is this all there is?
That's a perfect description. And Frankl identified three main avenues for finding meaning, even amidst suffering. It's not about avoiding hardship altogether, which, let's face it, is impossible, but about seeing even challenging experiences as potential sources of growth.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. What are these three avenues? I'm guessing it's not all about finding a cure for cancer or writing the next great novel.
Not necessarily. The first avenue is through creative work. Now, this doesn't mean everyone needs to become an artist or musician. It's more about engaging in activities that allow you to express yourself, to create something new, to bring something unique into the world. It could be anything from writing a blog post, to building a piece of furniture, to even just cooking a delicious meal. It's about tapping into that inherent human desire to create.
So it's about finding those little outlets for self-expression, those activities that make you feel truly engaged and in the flow. I like that. What about the second avenue?
The second avenue is through profound experiences. Think about moments of deep connection with nature, with art, with music, or with other people. These experiences can often shake us out of our routines and help us see the world in a new light. They can remind us of what's truly important and awaken a sense of awe and wonder.
So it's about those moments that take your breath away, that make you feel truly alive and connected to something larger than yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes those moments come when we least expect them, like stumbling upon a breathtaking view during a hike, or having a heart-to-heart conversation with a loved one.
Exactly. Now, the third avenue, this is the one that might surprise you, is through our attitude towards unavoidable suffering. It's not about seeking out suffering or glorifying it, but about recognizing that hardship is an inevitable part of life, and that even in those difficult moments, we can choose how we respond, how we make meaning of the experience.
That's incredibly powerful, and it goes back to what we were discussing earlier about Frankl's experiences in the concentration camps. Even in that horrific situation, he observed how some prisoners found a way to hold on to their humanity, to choose dignity and defiance over despair.
One of the most poignant examples is how some prisoners use humor as a coping mechanism. It wasn't about making light of the situation, but about finding a way to reclaim a sense of agency, even in the face of unimaginable cruelty.
Wow. So even in those extreme circumstances, humor could be a way of holding on to hope, of reminding yourself that you're still human, that you still have the power to choose how you respond to your situation.
Precisely. And it wasn't just humor. Frankl also talked about how some prisoners found meaning in acts of compassion, in helping others, even when they themselves were suffering.
That's incredible. So even in the darkest of times, these prisoners were able to tap into this deep well of human connection, to find purpose in caring for others,
Exactly. And that's what makes Frankl's message so powerful.
Yeah.
It's not some abstract philosophy. It's grounded in real-life experiences born out of unimaginable suffering. It's a testament to the human spirit's ability to find meaning, even when everything else seems lost.
It's amazing how even in those horrific conditions, those prisoners were able to hold on to a sense of meaning. Makes you wonder, how can we apply these ideas to our everyday lives? We might not be facing concentration camps, thankfully, but life throws its own curveballs.
Frankl believed that even when our external circumstances are beyond our control, we always retain the freedom to choose our attitude. It's this inner freedom, this ability to decide how we respond to events that allows us to find meaning even in suffering.
So it's not about denying the pain or pretending everything is fine.
Right.
It's about acknowledging the difficulty, but also recognizing that we have a choice in how we relate to it.
Precisely. Frankl even went a step further, saying that freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
The more freedom we have, the more responsible we become for our choices and how we choose to respond to life's challenges.
So taking ownership instead of playing the victim,
Yeah.
it's about recognizing that we have agency even when things feel really tough.
Exactly. And this ties into another key idea from the book. Instead of asking, what is the meaning of life? Frankl suggests we ask, what is life asking of me? It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything.
I like that it's less about searching for some grand universal meaning out there and more about recognizing the potential for meaning in the specific situations we find ourselves in.
It's about tuning into those unique opportunities and challenges that present themselves to each of us, and then asking, how can I respond in a way that aligns with my values and creates a sense of purpose right now?
It becomes less about finding meaning in some distant future and more about creating meaning in the present moment. So it's not just about finding meaning in our big life purpose, but also in the seemingly ordinary aspects of life, the way we connect with others, the way we approach our work, even the way we handle those mundane daily tasks.
That's what Frankl calls the meaning of the moment. It's recognizing that every moment, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, holds the potential for meaning.
So even doing the dishes or folding laundry can become an act of meaning-making if we approach it with intentionality and awareness.
It's not about the task itself, but our attitude towards it. If we view it as a chore, it will feel draining. But if we choose to see it as an act of care, a way of creating order and beauty in our environment, it can become something much more fulfilling.
That's such a powerful reframing. It's like taking something we usually view as a burden and turning it into an opportunity for mindfulness and gratitude.
And it goes back to that idea of choosing our attitude, even when faced with tasks we might not enjoy.
Speaking of challenges, Frankl didn't shy away from discussing suffering. In fact, he saw it as an inevitable part of life, maybe even a potential source of growth.
He argued that trying to avoid suffering altogether is futile. It's part of the human experience, but it's not about glorifying suffering or seeking it out. It's about recognizing that it's going to happen and that we can choose how we respond to it.
So it's not about pretending everything's okay when it's not. It's about acknowledging the pain, but not letting it define us.
Exactly. Frankl proposes a radical shift in perspective. Instead of viewing suffering as something to be feared or avoided, he suggests we consider it as an opportunity for growth, a chance to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world.
I can see how that might be empowering, but it's still a tough concept to grasp. How can we actually find meaning in suffering? It seems counterintuitive.
Think of it this way. Imagine someone who loses a loved one. It's an undeniably painful experience, but that loss can also lead to a deeper appreciation for life, a greater sense of compassion, and a stronger connection to others who have experienced similar loss. It's not that the suffering itself is meaningful, but the way we respond to it, the way we integrate it into our lives and allow it to shape us, can become a source of meaning.
So it's about turning that pain into something that serves us, that helps us grow and evolve, not letting it break us, but allowing it to make us stronger.
Frankl often talks about turning suffering into an achievement. This doesn't mean diminishing the pain, but finding a way to make it matter, to use it to fuel our growth and purpose.
There's a quote from the book that comes to mind. Man's search for meaning is not about finding meaning in life in general, but rather in finding the meaning of his own existence at a given moment. It feels relevant here.
That quote perfectly captures the essence of Frankl's message. Meaning isn't something out there waiting to be discovered. It's something we create through our choices, actions, and attitudes, especially in the face of hardship.
It's so inspiring that Frankl lived this philosophy out in the most extreme circumstances imaginable. He found meaning in the concentration camps, not because those circumstances were inherently meaningful, but because he chose to find meaning in them.
And that's what makes his work so powerful. It's not theoretical. It's grounded in lived experience born out of immense suffering that gives his message a depth and authenticity that deeply resonates with people.
You know, something a lot of people struggle with is finding meaning in their work. It's easy to feel like you're just going through the motions, especially if you're in a job that doesn't feel particularly fulfilling. Did Frankl have any thoughts on this?
He did. Frankl believed that meaningful work is one of the key avenues for finding meaning in life. And he emphasized that it doesn't have to be some grand world-changing endeavor. Even seemingly ordinary jobs can be meaningful if we approach them with the right attitude.
So how do we find meaning in our work even if it's not our dream job, especially when those Sunday scaries hit?
It starts with recognizing that every job, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, has the potential to contribute to something larger than ourselves. It's about finding that connection to something bigger, whether it's serving customers, supporting colleagues, or contributing to a company's mission.
Okay, that makes sense. But what if the work itself just feels soul-crushing, like you're stuck in a rut and can't see the bigger picture?
Even then, Frankl encourages us to look for meaning in the way we approach our work, even if the work itself isn't inherently fulfilling. Maybe it's about mastering a new skill, taking pride in doing a job well, or simply being a positive and supportive presence in the workplace.
So even if the tasks themselves aren't that exciting, it's about how we choose to show up, how we treat our colleagues, and the level of excellence we strive for that could really change your perspective.
Absolutely. And it can also be helpful to find ways to bring your values into your work, even in small ways.
For example, if you value creativity, maybe you can find ways to be more innovative in your problem solving, or if you value connection, you can focus on building stronger relationships with your colleagues.
Exactly. It's about finding those little pockets of meaning, those opportunities to align our actions with our values, even within the constraints of our jobs.
And if all else fails and you're truly miserable in your work, maybe it's time to start looking for a new job, one that better aligns with your values and passions. Life is too short to be stuck in a job that sucks the life out of you.
I agree. Sometimes finding meaning requires us to make changes, to step outside of our comfort zones, and to pursue opportunities that feel more aligned with who we are and what we want to contribute to the world.
I think a lot of people also struggle with finding meaning in relationships. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of the deeper connection. Frankl considered relationships pretty important, didn't he?
He did. Frankl believed that meaningful relationships are essential to a fulfilling life. He saw love as the highest goal to which man can aspire.
That's beautiful how he elevates love to this almost spiritual level. I'm guessing he's not just talking about romantic love here.
No, not at all. Frankl viewed love in a much broader sense. He saw it as a deep connection and understanding between human beings. It could be love for a partner, a family member, a friend, or even a stranger.
So how do we cultivate that kind of love, that deep sense of connection in our relationships, especially in this fast-paced world where it's easy to feel disconnected, even when we're surrounded by people? It starts with presence. Frankl encourages us to truly see the other person, to listen deeply to them, and to appreciate their uniqueness.
It's about going beyond that superficial level of interaction and really trying to understand the other person's world, their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences, putting down our phones, making eye contact, truly listening.
Exactly. And it's about being present in the moment, savoring the time we have with those we love.
Savoring the moment. I love that it's so easy to get caught up in distractions and miss those precious opportunities for connection.
Frankl also stresses the importance of self-transcendence in relationships. It's not just about what we can get from the other person, but what we can give.
So shifting the focus from what's in it for me to how can I contribute to this relationship? How can I make this person feel loved and valued?
That's the essence of it. And when we approach relationships with that kind of giving spirit, it creates a much deeper and more fulfilling connection. This has been an incredible exploration of man's search for meaning. We've covered so much ground, from Frankl's experiences in the concentration camps to the power of choosing our attitude, the importance of finding meaning in our work and relationships, and the potential for meaning in even the most challenging moments.
And we've only just scratched the surface. Frankl's work is so rich and multifaceted that we could spend hours discussing its implications for our lives. But even in this short time, I hope we've given you a taste of the profound wisdom and practical guidance that man's search for meaning offers.
It's incredible to think about all that Frankl endured, and how he was able to find meaning in the midst of such suffering. Makes you realize that maybe we have more control over our experience than we realize.
Absolutely. Man's search for meaning really challenges us to confront the big questions, the existential stuff that we often try to avoid. But in doing so, it offers this incredible sense of hope and resilience.
It's not about sugarcoating reality or pretending everything's perfect. Frankl didn't do that. He looked into the abyss and still found reasons to believe.
What's so valuable about Frankl's perspective is that it's not based on naive optimism. It's grounded in the reality of suffering. He acknowledged the darkness, but also recognized the human capacity for growth and transformation, even in the face of unimaginable hardship.
It makes his message so much more powerful and relatable. It's not just a feel-good philosophy, it's a testament to the strength of the human spirit. And it brings us back to one of his central ideas, the will to meaning.
Right. Frankl argued that this drive for meaning is as fundamental to our nature as our desire for pleasure or power. And in many ways, it's even more essential because it gives our lives purpose and direction.
It's like that sense of meaning becomes our inner compass, guiding us through life's ups and downs. It's that why that helps us get through the tough times.
Exactly. And it's a compass we can always rely on because it comes from within. It's not dependent on external circumstances, achievements, or other people's validation.
So even when everything else feels like it's falling apart, our jobs, our relationships, our health, we can still find that inner sense of purpose that anchors us and gives us the strength to keep going. That's really powerful.
That's the beauty of Frankl's message. It offers incredible resilience, this ability to bounce back from adversity, because we're not solely reliant on external factors for our sense of meaning.
It reminds me of that Nietzsche quote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." If you have a strong enough reason for doing something, you can overcome almost any obstacle.
That's a perfect way to put it. When we have a clear sense of why we're here, what we're striving for, what our lives are about, gives us the strength to endure even the most challenging circumstances.
So if someone is listening to this and feeling a bit lost, like they haven't quite found their why yet, what advice would Frankl offer them? Where should they start?
Frankl would encourage them to start by looking inwards, reflecting on their values, their passions, their experiences, what brings them joy, what makes them feel alive and engaged. What are they naturally drawn to?
It's like that classic advice, follow your bliss. Pay attention to those things that light you up, that make you feel excited and energized.
There's definitely some truth to that.
Yeah.
But Frankl would also caution against simply waiting for inspiration to strike. He believed that meaning is often found through action, through engaging with the world, through taking risks, and through pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zones.
So it's not just about sitting around and thinking about what gives our lives meaning. It's about actually going out and doing things, trying new things and seeing what resonates with us.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be something grand or dramatic. It could be as simple as volunteering our time, learning a new skill, having a meaningful conversation with a friend, or simply taking a walk in nature and appreciating the beauty around us.
It's those small intentional actions aligned with our values that gradually weave together the tapestry of meaning in our lives.
And the more we engage in those actions, the more that sense of meaning grows and expands. It becomes this positive feedback loop where action leads to more meaning, which leads to more action.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into man's search for meaning. Frankl's work is so rich with wisdom and practical guidance. It's a book that I think everyone can benefit from reading no matter where they are on their own journey.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's a book that stays with you long after you finish reading it, and it has the power to profoundly transform the way you live your life.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question that Frankl often posed. If you knew you couldn't fail, what one thing would you do to make your life more meaningful? Let that question simmer as you go about your day. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
That's a brilliant question to end on.
Yeah.
It challenges us to dream big, to step into our full potential, and to pursue those things that truly matter to us without the fear of failure holding us back.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into man's search for meaning. We hope it's inspired you to continue your own search for meaning and to live a life that is both fulfilling and purposeful. Until next time.